It's raining here where I live in Northern California right now. And it's always interesting to get a little dog to go out and do a little dog's business when it's raining. But he did, and every single part of him is wet. It's raining pretty good. Okay, this is Spike. I'm Charlie Simons. I'm the host of Do Not Talk. Talk about two things you're never supposed to talk about: politics and religion, and talking about it loudly. Also, the people you're not supposed to talk to, and nobody talks to them anymore. Oh, Charlie, don't put them on. It'll hurt your reputation. Your own Republican Party won't be able to back you if you have another J6er on. That kind of stuff. This is really that. Tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. Pacific time at rumble.com/do not talk, I'm going to be presenting to you a kid who got kicked out of the California Republican Convention for asking the wrong questions of the chair of the CAGOP. I was there at that convention. I'd heard about these guys getting kicked out, more than one. Reporters, media people, not just reporters, podcasters. Reporters to me is newspaper, magazine, journalists, but they're all reporting, allegedly, supposedly on news. Most of us are opinion anymore at this point, though. And like me, I don't shy away from it. Yeah, well, you bet. I'm a card-carrying, flag-waving patriot. Thank you very much. But God first, always God first. So anyway, this guy got kicked out. And we heard about it at the convention. It was all the rumor. Everybody, and then somebody else got kicked out. And what's going on? Why is this happening? Why is the California Republican Party shutting up, shutting down, and throwing out media people? I think we all know why. But tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. Pacific time, be there at rumble.com/do not talk. His name is Ryder, R-Y-D-E-R, Ryder Bullock, B-U-L-L-O-C-K, like Sandra. And I can't wait to hear that story. But this morning, it's one of my favorite people, somebody who I value. And I'm just looking forward to the day when I finally get to play a round of golf with him. Sheriff Richard Mack is going to be on the show. The sheriff's back in town, baby.
Hard work, huh? Well, for one thing, General Ulysses S. Grant has been elected president of the United States.
What did I tell you, fellas? The next president will be a Republican.
A Republican? Well, do tell. I never knew there was anything except Democrats.
In my state of California, there pretty much aren't anything except Democrats. Richard Mack, Sheriff Richard Mack, come to the microphone now, please. Hit it.
Yeah! Woo!
Hey, Charlie.
How are things for you down in God's country of Arizona if God decided he didn't want anybody to have any water and live amongst cactus and Gila monsters? That would be God's country then for you.
That's what's great about Arizona. You can go to the mountains in about an hour, no matter where you live.
Are you talking about like what is that? Williams and Flagstaff?
Yeah, Flagstaff, Show Low, Snowflake.
Love it.
Yeah, and even around Tucson, there's quite a few mountains. And where I was sheriff, Mount Graham, snow-capped 6 months out of the year. So Arizona is one of the few states where you can go snow skiing one day and water skiing the next.
Well, California would be the other.
Yeah, California is definitely one.
Let's talk about what's going on here, there, and everywhere. It's during the whole COVID shutdown. Remember when they were reporting for a while about all these meat processing plants that were blowing up, they were shutting down, bad things were happening, people were dying at meat processing plants. And nobody seemed to talk about it other than it's going everywhere. But no, that was when Biden was president. No, it's not some kind of conspiracy. It's all by accident. It's all just coincidence. Well, now we've got something similar happening to that in a very puzzling way. We've got scientists who are just disappearing. Have you been following that? What's going on?
Yes, I have. As a matter of fact, the one that really startled me was a man was interviewed on Fox yesterday, I think. Pretty sure it was yesterday. And he was friends with one of the female scientists that was murdered. And this is probably the one they should start with. And I don't remember her name, but it really doesn't matter. But she wrote him a letter or an email. I can't remember which, but they're the same. This is the letter. And she told him, I fear for my life. And I want to know if she told him why she had that premonition, or if it was more than just a premonition, what kind of threat she was getting. Why did she say that? I fear for my life. And then she added 3 criteria to it. She said, if someone claims that I committed suicide, you will definitely know I did not, and start an investigation. If someone claims that I was in a serious accident and I died, you will know that it did not happen, and start an investigation. And then she said, and if they claim that I murdered someone else, you will know that I definitely did not, start an investigation. Well, she was murdered. She was shot. And you would think that that would be enough right there to create another, Charlie Kirk style investigation. I mean, she might not be as famous as Charlie Kirk, but she might be more important than he was to national security. And she's a scientist, and I believe a nuclear scientist. Who in the world, and we could probably name 4 countries, but the first one on the top of the list would be Iran. Who would want to kill and kidnap, or kidnap and kill scientists, 11 different scientists, all Americans, who are high up, working with the federal government and working with the United States military and working on nuclear secrets? And so, wow. And so far,
I would think China would be very suspect too, because so far,
China, Russia, North Korea, yeah, they're all suspects. Absolutely. But
how can a sheriff help with that?
Well, a lot. Sheriffs do know. Sheriff Nanos in Tucson, notwithstanding, sheriffs do know a little bit about investigations. And I was a detective before I was sheriff, so I do know a little bit about those. But I haven't been in law enforcement for a long time, so over 25 years. And although I work closely with sheriffs, and I get notices from sheriffs all over the country about the training they've been to, and that's been pretty amazing, to be quite honest. We'll get to that in a minute. But I've been really upset about, and maybe not upset as much as, what are you talking about? A little bit taken aback by the response from Comer, Congressman Comer, and a few others said, well, we're thinking about maybe we should start an investigation. And we don't know that there's any consequential connection with all of these, but we definitely need to start an investigation. This has been going on for 4 years, okay? And 11 different scientists of America. Maybe after the first 2 or 3 years, and there's 5 or 6 scientists dead or kidnapped, or both, maybe that should have been when you started wondering about all this. But now that there's 11, and now you're wondering if there's any connection. Even I know they're all scientists, they're all Americans, and they were working on secret stuff. You think there might be a connection? Really? And they're still saying, we haven't got a connection here. We don't know if this is all coincidental or whatnot. By about the time you have 11, I think you can pretty much know you got a conspiracy going on and they're connected. But Regardless, of course, you still have to prove all that. but you need to get your butts moving. If somebody told me, Charlie, right now, that they're going to investigate some very consequential and coincidental murder cases, probably the last thing I want to hear is it's going to be investigated by Congress.
You're right. Right.
Yeah,
And then it's going to go to a committee, and then we'll never hear anything about it again.
exactly. And then the Democrats are going to blame the Republicans for it, or they're going to blame Trump for it, and they're going to make it a big political thing instead of simply trying to find out what's happening to America on this and how exposed are our nuclear secrets to our enemies. And so, look, China has nuclear weapons. Russia has nuclear weapons. So they probably don't need to be doing anything to our scientists. But it's still possible because both of them are enemies of America. But the ones I would think, why would I think mostly this is Iran? First of all, because Trump is really pissing off their leadership. And secondly,
I don't know if they have any leadership left. I think right
well,
now it's rogue. I think the military has gone rogue. It's a military coup running what's left of the country.
And that's a key point. Nobody really knows who is assuming leadership and why and how they got there. Who said this guy that's in charge now is in charge? Certainly the people of Iran didn't. Right. And so, look, this needs to be the FBI, the CIA, and probably several other national organizations, but Interpol as well, getting on these investigations. Has anybody even interviewed this guy that was on Fox News? He should be all over. They should be all over that investigation. And, hey, President Trump, I volunteer my services to help with this investigation.
There you go. One thing that a county sheriff could do, because that's my thought, well, this is national stuff. Why would a sheriff be involved? Well, there are sleeper cells all over this country
exactly.
now. During the 4-year Biden reign of terror, Biden, Obama, we have sleeper cells all over the place. And that's where sheriffs can come in, exposing these sleeper cells. They've got to be on top of it.
Yes. No one knows the county better than the county sheriff. And he and his deputies and the people and his posses should be locating, and in fact, they probably already have a lot of intel about that, where sleeper cells are in their counties, and that's where the FBI should be starting. If they're at ground zero and they don't have anything going, they should be contacting the sheriffs of this country or the sheriffs where these people were last seen, and absolutely the sheriff should be involved in this investigation.
What is conscripting? Why are sheriffs being conscripted? What does that mean?
It means they're taking orders from other people or other bureaucrats, and like in my case, where they conscripted all the sheriffs in this country to enforce federal law for them for free without any negotiation or input from the sheriffs, and then threatening to arrest us if we failed to comply. Well, yes, the anti-commandeering or anti-conscripting case was the Mack Prince case. And we certainly recommend that to everyone. Everyone should be getting a hold of the copy of the case right here, available on our website, cspoa.org, cspoa.org, the most powerful 10th Amendment decision in the history of our country. Every American should have this book in their pocket, their car, or their house, their home, and study that out, and then deliver them and share them with your sheriff and other local officials. Your city council should see that, your mayor, your county attorney, your city attorney, your county commissioners, absolutely, and make sure your governor gets one. Yeah.
How are sheriffs even doing it these days? They have so many states and blue states like California trying to take away
Washington
their power.
State.
Washington State.
Washington State's even worse than California right now because they're trying to get rid of the sheriffs. And California is not even trying that. Or trying to make sure that they're appointed instead of elected. California's not even doing that. Washington is.
That's a trick that has been pulled quite a bit in California, where a sheriff who's kind of doing the bidding of the board of supervisors in their county will step down due to whatever reason. And instead of having an election for a new sheriff, the board of supervisors just appoints a new one. And next thing you know, they got one who's completely compromised and kind of shut down for the most part, the sheriff's department, of getting in the way of so much rampant fraud and corruption. How many sheriffs, for example, down in Los Angeles, where Nick Shirley really focused when he first got here from Minnesota, the sheriff down there, were they able to cooperate or help in any way, or was it just like, we're out?
Well, you'd think that they would want to. Sheriff Luna in Los Angeles, I've been complaining about him for quite some time because the city of Los Angeles is in Los Angeles County, and he should be more active in making sure that the mayor in Los Angeles and the chief of police are doing their job to protect ICE agents and to make sure that protesters are being protected at the same time. And you want a good comparison? Look at Florida sheriffs. They're still doing deportation. They're still allowing people to protest, which they can't stop those unless they turn violent or criminal. But the protesters in Florida have been warned by several different sheriffs. If you break the law, you're going to go to jail. If you attack agents, you're going to go to jail. Guess where it's being very peaceful? Florida. Hey, Minnesota, look at Florida. Okay? And so Los Angeles, I tell them the same thing. Look at Florida. Chicago, look at Florida. They're getting the job done. They're getting rid of criminals that were allowed in by the Biden administration. Really, Democrats, go ahead and tell the whole world that you want to keep the pedophiles, that you want to keep the human traffickers, that you want to keep the drug dealers, that you want to keep the murderers in your community, and you want them here, and you want ICE and everyone else to leave them alone. What kind of rule of law is that? What kind of law and order is that? And what kind of crook are you trying to aid and abet and give aid and comfort to criminals who are the worst type of criminals in the world, including the terrorists who are now being looked at as ones who maybe committed 11 different murders and kidnappings?
I don't know how sheriffs do it, especially in big counties like Sheriff Chad Bianco, and he's running for governor too. He's doing his sheriff duties at night, and then he's campaigning during the day.
Yeah,
that is, I frankly don't know how he's doing it. I got to see both him and the other front runner, Steve Hilton, side by side a lot, because at these Republican conventions, they have these different forums for different people groups and different, for example, we had a veterans meeting. The whole room was full of vets and all of us Republicans. And they were talking about, here's what we're doing, here's how we're working with the party, here's how we're, helping veterans, here's how the party is trying to make things better for them. And then the candidates would come in and they'd all get to speak for about 5 minutes or so. So I got to see Hilton and Bianco side by side a lot. One would follow the other frequently. And Steve Hilton was, it's hard not to like him. He's a likable fellow, but he'd come in, rah, platitudes. Here's what I'm going to do. Here's how I'm going to fix it. And you and I have had a discussion about Sheriff Chad Bianco before and your thoughts on him. But he would come in and he'd say, well, Steve says all the things that I've been saying, only I'm going to tell you how I'm going to do it. And he would proceed to do that. Here's how I'm going to make this happen. Turn things around for me in a major way. It really did. And then the final vote came on Sunday, where we delegates got to vote on who we wanted to endorse as a party, the entire party of California and Republicans endorsing candidates. It's the delegates who decide that.
Right.
And the vote was so close that neither one got the required 60%. So we didn't endorse either one. And the media did exactly what I said they would do. They said that even the Republican Party of California doesn't want their own Republican candidates to be sheriff. They didn't even endorse them, is what they, started reporting. And Steve Hilton had been endorsed by President Trump just like a week before.
Right.
I don't know why he did that. I'm actually sorry he did. I wish he would have waited at least until after the primary election to go to the midterms, but he didn't. So of course they're reporting that even the California Republican Party is against President Trump. Didn't want their guy going to governor. That's how they reported everything. I knew that was going to happen.
Oh, God.
And a bill was introduced, or a motion was introduced to actually do a dual endorsement. They gavelled it out. They shut off the man's microphone. No, we're not doing that. And that was that. So,
well, did the vote, Charlie, ever have where it was just between Bianco and Hilton?
Yes.
And they still couldn't come up with it.
Well, the vote was so close. The requirement is they have to get at least 60% of the vote to get the endorsement.
But who actually came out ahead? Surely it didn't tie.
Chad Bianco came out ahead.
Really?
Yeah, he got the popular vote, but it wasn't enough for that 60%. Right. So there was no endorsement at all.
Right.
Horrible, ridiculous, stupid. And I don't know what's going to happen. The primary is June 2nd. Conservatives and Republicans suck at showing up for the primary election, which is where elections are won and lost in California because of our jungle primary. Right. We could have, once again, 2 Democrats.
I really think that a few Republicans need to drop out.
The party has already made that choice for them. They didn't even entertain any of the grassroots candidates because I'm a big fan of Daniel Mercury and also Louis Herms. Leo Zaki would be great. There's many great candidats, but
I actually endorsed Che On.
Oh, and Che On, of course. Thank you, Pastor Che. Yeah. No,
but I would ask him and all the others, Herms, all of them. I would ask Che On. In fact, I'm probably going to call him and ask him to get out of it so that we can do what the Democrats have done without accusing them of all these other crimes. But this is why the Democrat Party pulled out on Swalwell, because they wanted him out so that the percentages could go to the other top 2 or 3 candidates. Folks, this has all been orchestrated. And here we've got good people in the Republican Party who need to get out. Bench. They need to get out so that we can have the Republicans win on this. Folks, the Democrats were desperate, and they still are, but now they're looking better because they consolidated with the top 2 or 3 candidates. And getting Swalwell out of the way was part of that plan.
That was definitely his. That was the tiger eating their young. That was we didn't do that. We Republicans did not do that whole Swalwell thing. That obviously came from the left.
Yeah, of course.
Opposing him.
The Democrats want to win, and they're willing to lie, cheat, steal, or murder to do it. So here we are.
You're absolutely right. Yeah. So I love what you've done with the CSPOA, which you mentioned earlier, which is the Constitutional Sheriff and Peace Officers Association. You started that. You spearheaded it. And it was to get all the sheriffs all across the nation all on board with their constitutional powers so that they fully understand, as an elected law enforcement officer, they have powers and abilities to enforce law above and beyond even, big national FBI kind of stuff. When it comes to their county, they are the law, even over the chief of police, because a chief of police is for the most part appointed. Most sheriffs are elected. They're trying to stop that, though, aren't they?
Correct. And the chief of police is appointed. That makes him a bureaucrat. And look, I'm not trying to demean any chief of police. Some of them are really good people, but they, along with the sheriffs, need to know and understand what their oath of office is and why they take it. And yes, I am offended that chiefs of police and sheriffs and anyone else in law enforcement swears an oath of allegiance to the Constitution, and yet 2 seconds later summarily ignore it and summarily violate that oath of office. And I want to change that. I want there to be integrity in the oath. And if you're going to swear an oath to something, you probably ought to know and understand what that something is. And in this case, that something is our United States Constitution. And that is the foundation for liberty for every single person in this country. And if the bottom line, if the line in the sand, known as our sheriffs and law enforcement, are not even familiar with that document and pretend that they keep their oath because they do whatever the Supreme Court says, or they follow all Supreme Court decisions, which is impossible to do anyway. There's too many of them. Or they follow the orders from the county attorney, or from the county commissioners, or from the president of the United States, or from Congress. No, sheriff and chief of police, you work for the people in your community. They pay your salary, and we are here for them. We, the people, are in charge of this government, and not some other bureaucrat or bureaucracy. And we don't work for the governor. We don't work for the AG, and we don't work for the county attorney. We work for the people, and they are our boss. And therein lies our constitutional republic.
But yet a lot of sheriffs, and I got this little insider trading knowledge. I won't say names or counties, but it is in California where I became friends with someone who was running for sheriff. And he let me know that the question you asked, Charlie, when you have sheriffs on, and I've had a few, not a lot. Most of them don't like talking to the media. I can't really blame them. But especially somebody like me who says, now, which Constitution are you upholding? Our U.S. Constitution or the state Constitution? When I asked them, thanks to you, you taught me this, are you a constitutional sheriff? It's a simple question. Are you actually following the laws of the U.S. Constitution? And he said, then when they say yes, they're a constitutional sheriff, ask them which one, state or federal. He's right. And a lot of them I've found like, well, to the state Constitution. And because of that, they can, if they don't toe the line in this one party ruled state of California, they can have their funding cut for their department or for their office.
Oh,
they
yeah.
can literally have their funding cut by the state.
Yeah.
How's that possible?
Well, it doesn't happen very often, and the threat isn't there very much. And there's very little difference between the state constitutions and the federal constitution, especially when it comes to gun control and the right of the people to keep and bear arms. California may have changed their constitution. I've heard that they've done that, but certainly California has promulgated legislation contrary to the Constitution and Second Amendment on a routine basis, and they're one of the worst states in the entire country. Hawaii and California. And Washington State now, and Illinois, well, the Chicago area. But at the same time, it is the supreme law of the land, and most state constitutions are very explicit about the right of the people to keep and bear arms. And so if there is a contradiction between the two, is the U.S. Constitution, does it supersede the California Constitution? And I maintain in certain places it does. For instance, the Bill of Rights. Can the state of California promulgate legislation that completely contradicts the United States Bill of Rights? It is the supreme law of the land. That is specifically the supreme law of the land. I don't think they're allowed to, and I don't think they should try. And obviously, we take an oath to both. So I would love to see someone sincere enough about taking their oath to the Constitution and to the state Constitution and say which one is supreme. And I would submit that it depends on what you're looking at. If you're just looking at voter day, or you have to be 35 to run for president, well, I don't care about that in the U.S. Constitution. I don't care. It doesn't really matter to me. I don't care how old the president is when he has to run. But then when you go into gun rights, I do really care, because I don't think California can change their constitution that explicitly violates the United States Constitution on that particular issue, because we all swore, and the founding fathers said the supreme law of the supreme law is indeed the Bill of Rights, and they cannot be touched by anyone. The Constitution also says that the United States government shall guarantee to each state a republican form of government and protect the same from invasion. So the federal government is supposed to be protecting our borders and making sure that each state has a republican form of government. That's federal. And I don't think on either one of those the states can do it, even though pragmatically they've done it. And it's because they think they're smarter than the founding fathers, and they have an agenda to pursue, and that's the Democrat agenda. And you have to do what you're told, or you lose your funding, as you alluded to.
This is why it's so important for us to pay attention to a sheriff's race. We need to vet, we need to get involved, we need to be interested, and actually show up and start voting, because a lot of these sheriffs that are getting in there said exactly what they had to say to get elected, and then they get over and they get that position of tremendous power. And talking about gun rights, for example, you mentioned Sheriff Luna down in Los Angeles County. Also, right. San Francisco is another one where we all know good luck trying to get a concealed carry permit. First of all, I think concealed carry permit requirement is unconstitutional, but that's me. But you can't even get what they don't.
It is unconstitutional.
The sheriff won't fund that certain part of the department to give those licenses out, and so they sit there, and oftentimes just never even happen. Nobody even gets approved for this permit unless you know somebody, or maybe somebody's got a little something. Yeah. Other than that, you're not getting it. That's how they're shutting that down, at least in the state of California. Yeah. What do we do about that? Well, other than just start paying attention.
Right. We need constitutional sheriffs in California a lot more than we have. And the key component of all of that is Jefferson told us that the best defense of liberty is a well-informed and educated citizenry. Well, if your sheriffs are educated about any of this, and they're supposed to be protecting our rights, if they don't know the Constitution, how are they going to know what rights to protect? And so it's very fundamental. And I really get a little bit impatient with sheriffs. You've had plenty of time now to have studied the Constitution. And I'm not talking about case law. I won a case at the United States Supreme Court. Sheriff, when was the last time you read that case? It was about sheriffs. It was for sheriffs. And have you ever even read the case? Most of them have not. And most of them are a little bit antagonistic against it because they think it has something to do with me pushing onto them to tell them to be a constitutional sheriff. Look, I don't want to tell you how to be a sheriff. I want you to get that from your citizens. And I want you to, for heaven's sakes, keep your oath of office. And that's really what we push.
Well, I love that you're doing it. And you can always find more at cspoa.org, right?
Every person in this country needs to join us and be a part of this so that when you go talk to your sheriff, you can actually say, here's a copy of the Supreme Court case that Mack and 6 other sheriffs won. But we also want to know how we can work together in preserving the peace in our county. Yeah. And this is between you and me, not you and Sheriff Mack, because Bianco's already been mad at me a few times, and I've been mad at him a few times. It's not about us. I don't live in California. I don't live in Riverside County. And so what I want is the only thing I really want from Chad Bianco, Sheriff Bianco, is to keep his oath, to defend the Constitution, and defend the civil rights of all people in the state of California and in his county. That's all I want from any sheriff. defend the rights of the people, of all races and nationalities, all people, especially citizens of this country, and therein lies the true constitutional republic that we're all supposed to be about. If you ask most sheriffs, they won't be able to tell you what form of government we have, and they won't be able to tell you the difference between a democracy or a republic, even though the word democracy doesn't appear anywhere in our Constitution or Declaration of Independence. But the word republic does.
A sheriff runs the jail. For the most part, it's the county sheriff that they when you get booked, you get arrested and you get booked. Where you go from there depends on what happens during the trial and all that kind of stuff. But you're going to jail, and that's almost always a county thing. There's a sheriff in Las Vegas who has refused orders to release illegals and other lawbreakers that these rogue judges, these crappy judges we have.
That would be Sheriff Kevin McMahill.
Tell us about that.
Well, I talked to him about it, and I actually spent an hour with him in his office about 2 years ago, showing him my case and talking to him about the significance of the case. Lo and behold, now he's one of the best sheriffs in the country, standing up against woke judges who are illegally, and maybe a judge can do anything he wants. I don't think they can. I think they need to enforce the law. And they're illegally putting people, even, how about immorally, putting hardened criminals out into the community and risking the lives of people that they're supposed to be protecting. Right. And McMahill says, I'm not going to do it. And they said, we're going to hold you in contempt. He did this to 4 judges, 11 different times on 11 different inmates. This is a good, courageous man doing his job. Thank you, Sheriff McMahill in Clark County, Las Vegas, being the big town in that county. But he's the county sheriff. And what I really like also is that Las Vegas Metro is under him. The Las Vegas Police Department is under Sheriff McMahill, Clark County Sheriff.
Oh,
that's the way they should all be.
Is that unprecedented? Is that how it used to be? Or?
Yes, it's how it used to be one time. And then these cities started annexing, and they wanted their own police department. They wanted their own power. They wanted their own ticket writing revenue agents. You know,
that's what it is, huh?
It sure is.
That's what it is. There's here in California, there's all kinds of CHP prevalent all over the freeways now. And I told my friend, oh, California must be broke again. They're out there enforcing, but they don't pull over trucks. That's my biggest frustration. How come a lot of highway patrol don't pull over these big rigs? I live close to a very main artery.
Well,
freeway.
One reason is the big rigs have to go through a check system and be weighed, and as they enter every state.
They're speeding. They're doing 75, 80 miles an hour. They're not supposed to go over 55 in California.
Well, the sheriffs, the highway patrol should be going after them, and I don't know why they wouldn't. Except
I don't either.
Except I
can't remember the last time I saw a big rig pulled over.
There's too many illegal aliens, and they don't want to have to mess with them driving those trucks. So,
think that might have something to do with it.
Might. I don't know. I'm going to have to check with my highway patrol friend there.
I'd like to know why trucks are getting away with this.
Yeah.
And we know that a lot of these people who have these commercial driver's licenses now powering these, these plummeting tons and tons of weaponry down the freeway are not even here legally.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's insane.
Well, the illegal alien problem is getting worse on a daily basis.
How much can President Trump do about all that? Can he? He's got so much going on. I don't know how he's doing what he's doing.
The federal government's in charge of protecting the borders, and he's been doing that. But now that's getting to where the illegal aliens are now figuring out how to get around that. And the safeguards presented by President Trump. So we're starting to get more illegals again. Not nearly as bad, obviously, as it's been under the Biden administration, but they didn't have any. They didn't have any security at the border.
No.
Trump did a very good job of securing the border and stopping the bleeding with illegal immigration. And now, because of what other states have been doing, they've been making it easier to come into their states and keeping them there, which is actually a crime. Aiding and abetting criminals is against the law. And California and Washington and other states that believe they can establish and promulgate sanctuary laws and sanctuary status is a joke. It's a crime. You can't make one law to say you don't have to obey this other law. That's the stupidity of California and Washington and a few others.
You got a new book coming out. You're an author on top of everything else. Tell us about it.
Are you sitting down? Okay, good.
I think so. I'm all hopped up on cough medicine. I might not be.
Well, the title's going to knock you down, so I didn't want you to be standing up.
Okay.
You ready?
Yeah.
The Democrat Murder of America. Demagoguery. And now get the subtitle, though, too. Demagoguery in the first degree.
That's fantastic.
And
when's that coming out?
The book is about exactly what the title says. And the cover shows a Democrat with a kind of like a Uncle Sam hat and the ears sticking through it. So it's a patriotic looking hat because that's what the Democrats want to look like. They want to look patriotic.
Oh, yeah.
And the jackass wearing that hat, and it is a jackass, has in its hoof a knife, and he's stabbing the Statue of Liberty with the knife.
Dang.
That's the cover. That's
Wow.
the cover. And we expose a lot of the corruption of the Democrat Party. We don't give Republicans a free ride. But I'll go to my grave saying that Democrats are 10 times worse than most Republicans. There's a few rhinos that are just as bad. And there's Democrats that have registered as Republicans. So putting those aside, those people are still Democrats to me. But we expose the corruption and criminal acts of the Democrat Party, and in some cases, murder. And so when I say they're willing to lie, cheat, steal, and murder, we actually prove that in many cases. And if you didn't need any other evidence, how about killing babies in the womb? That's murder. How about while a baby is being born and they kill the baby while it's being born? It's called partial birth abortion. And that term was invented by Clinton and Obama. Partial birth abortion was done and created by Planned Parenthood and the Democrat Party. That is murder. Murdering a baby at 9 months, fully developed, while it's being born, is murder. And that's why we have that title, The Democrat Murder of America, because they're murdering our Constitution. They're murdering female sports. And they're murdering the American dream.
The traditional family.
And they're murdering the traditional family.
Yeah.
And they're murdering law and order. They're murdering fairness and honesty. They're murdering integrity. They're murdering fair and honest elections. And they're murdering America. And that's why we did it. And we obviously know we're going to take a lot of heat for this because Democrats hate exposing the truth. And that's what we're going to do. And
Yeah, that's why they're trying to kill Nick Shirley and other reporters like him.
Of course.
They're trying to murder free speech as well.
Yep, there's another one. Yep.
I don't know how we come out of all of this, but I do know I'm grateful for people like you who still keep standing up and speaking out. You could have easily just retired and enjoyed the good life. Your wife is extraordinary. You've got such a great family.
Yes.
You could have had just a nice, easy life, but you haven't. You've stayed in the fight and you keep doing what you can. And I admire and respect that so much. When is the book coming out and where can we get it? How?
The ebook is going to be coming out pretty quick. I'd say it about 10 days. And then maybe an audio book pretty close to the same. And the paperback should be within the next 3 to 5 weeks.
Good. Where do we find
it? It'll be announced on our website, and I'll send you an email or text about it.
Good. Thank you. Please do. And I'd love to have you on again. And I want to read it. Tell us about your website again.
CSPOA.org. And everyone in this country should become a member of our citizen posse. And we help train you to work with your sheriff in doing what Madison said, erecting the barriers against the encroachments of the national authority. Folks, the next Democrat to become president and vice president, and they get Congress, we better dang well have constitutional sheriffs all across this country. That's where you come in, and you're part of the solution.
I pray that doesn't happen again, but you and I both know that people's memories are pathetically short.
Yeah.
Oh, I've already forgotten how completely horrific it was under Joe Biden. Maybe we should try another Democrat for president.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
You and I both know that it's coming, isn't it?
Oh, it is.
And they're going to do everything they can to continue and push forward their new world order.
They will try to shut you and me down.
Yeah,
guarantee it.
Well, thank you so much, Sheriff Richard Mack. CSPOA.org, Constitutional Sheriff and Peace Officers Association. Become a member and get involved with that. You'll be glad you did. Thank you, my friend.
Thank you so much. I'll see you soon, and I will definitely keep in touch. Thanks for having me.
You bet. Thanks for being had. That's my favorite joke. Go to my website, would you please? CharlieSimons.com, CharlieSimons.com, and get yourself one of these. Let's talk about politics and religion. Nice big old 15-ounce mug. Of course, it's red. And you'll find hats, shirts there, all kinds of stuff. And you can help the show stay on the air that way. You can also give through my website as well. There's ways to give on there if you want to support this ministry, which is what it is. May God bless you and keep you. May God bless America. But most importantly, America, bless God. Voice back.